Hi, everyone. Welcome to HR Bytes, a podcast and video series to bring you stories of everyday people who are driving digital transformations in their organizations, data driven and future fit digital HR leaders. This is your host, Jay Polaki, and today's guest is Julie Turney. Julie is an HR influencer and has over 15 years of experience in HR. And she's also the founder of HR at Heart Consulting in Barbados and hosts the popular HR Sound Off podcast. Welcome to HR Bytes, Julie, and I'm so happy to have you on the show today. Could you please provide our listeners with a brief introduction about your work and your current role and your HR at Heart Consulting?
Hi, Jay. Thank you so much for having me on your show today. I really do appreciate it. So, as you said, I'm Julie Turney from Barbados. I am the CEO and founder of HR at Heart Consulting, which is an HR for HR support company. So I coach HR professionals and help them to be the champions that they really are from within and discover who that is and live intentionally in their purpose. I am a podcaster. I am an HR disruptor. I believe that it's important that we use technology, yes, to help us progress and grow as we go into understanding what the future of work looks like. But I also believe that we still need to be human because we are working with people. So I'm strongly about ensuring that people bring their human to work.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it's so important today, right? Especially after we've been forced basically by this pandemic to be front and center during the past 9 months, especially with the
Absolutely.
massive shift to the remote workforce. And, digital transformation in HR is now more a necessity than just good to have kind of um,
Yes.
a scenario right now. And I've been talking to a lot of HR leaders over the past year, and we've been asked to be kind of the business first, people first, digital HR leaders. And amongst all of these strategies, the digital first strategy is really very upfront and center because of the pandemic. How do you
Mhm.
think this pandemic has fast forwarded adoption of our HR technology in companies and in companies that you work with?
I think that we've had to really make a rapid shift, right? Especially when you consider that for the most part, we are now starting to come into this hybrid phase of how we work. So, some people working from home, some people going to the office. But if you're still on lockdown, wherever you are in the world, you have to manage your people from home. And so, with that comes its challenges, which means that digital transformation has become front and center. How do you manage that? And one of the things that happened for us in the Caribbean is that for sure a lot of people figured out what Zoom was at the start of the pandemic. So if they didn't know before, they fast figured out what it was and how to make it work. But then the need for other technologies to move your business along, there was no way you were able to get in the office and actually go look at physically an employee file. So how did you digitize that and move your organization into the next phase of transformation in terms of digitizing your personnel records and stuff like that. So, absolutely, we've had to make a huge shift. For some of us, it has been a trial by fire.
Uh-huh.
And for some of us, not so much so, but it really has been a difficult time to make these transitions with minimum time and planning and strategizing to get it done.
Absolutely. This pandemic has definitely forced our hand to make sure that not only do we adopt this new technology at warp speed, but that we adapt to it at warp speed, right? It's
Yes.
both an adoption and an adaptation going on at the same time.
Hmm.
And digital natives probably find it easier, but there's so many of us in HR who find it hard to grapple with technology. Excel spreadsheet itself is a
Exactly.
monster for us to handle sometimes,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm. I agree.
and
It really
and
is.
absolutely, and especially in organizations when it comes to technology adoption, there's so many moving parts, and a lot of times our HR leaders have to kind of bank on their social capital, their network within the organization, to get the budget and the resources to
Mhm,
adopt new technology.
mhm.
What role has your social capital, or your connections within the organization, played in generating and scaling innovation in your HR department in the past, and how has it changed now?
So previously, it was a fight to get certain things put on board because it was always, HR is this big cost center, but what do we get out of it in return? But ultimately, then you realize as you're going through this particular situation, a global pandemic, you're going to have to make certain investments in order for us to be able to move things forward and to keep the organization running at a particular speed or a particular pace. And so getting buy-in for us became a lot easier because as we looked at our business continuity plans and so on, you realize, okay, well, you really do have to make some kind of shift in order for the organization to be able to continue to run smoothly, right? For HR at Heart, it's a little bit different. We are a very small boutique firm. Um, and because I sit right here at the helm of it all, it's very easy for me to look at different technologies and see what works. But where I have found great support is in my HR community and persons like yourself, Jay, and others who are specifically dealing with technologies to be able to provide great advice on what technologies we can implement that are not that are cost effective, won't break the bank for us as small businesses, but we can still get stuff done. So yeah, we've had to make a huge shift, but we're getting there.
That's a very interesting perspective, because a lot of folks do not think of HR consultants as tech savvy unless they
Mm,
present themselves that way, right? But then, we do engage in a lot of technology in HR, and
mhm.
we've adopted and adapted over the years. It's just that we've lacked the support within an organization to adapt faster and adopt faster.
Yes.
So, what's one piece of advice you have for HR professionals who are looking to adopt or learn new technology?
I would say first and foremost, I believe in the power of community, as I said to you before. So I would say the easiest place to find people who know what they're talking about is LinkedIn. Go find those people, follow them, connect with them, have calls with them, find out what they're using, what works, what doesn't work, because you're not alone. And then make sure that you are staying on top of these things by reading. I do look at a lot of I listen to a lot of podcasts, but I also look at a lot of magazines, digitally, it's like Inc. and Entrepreneur and all these different ones. But I'm also always looking at the blogs or the email newsletters that I get from some of the websites that I subscribe to of HR professionals who are specifically dealing with HR tech that provide the support and also give you the insights that you need in how you can develop and add the right technology to your organization because you really have to think about whether or not the technology is right for you and not adding it for the sake of adding it. So I would say that would be my advice. Community is everything. Get out there, connect with the people who are doing the groundwork, follow them, follow their newsletters, their blogs, get all the information that you need so you can make the best decisions for your organization.
And our HR community on Twitter is a great resource. So,
Yes.
shout out to Steve Brown and Mary
Mhm.
and Melanie Peacock and yourself, Julie, who really,
Thank you.
and Tracy Sonnenberg and so
Yes.
many, Jeff
Mhm.
Shapiro,
Mhm.
Kirsten Greggs. There's so many of us out there.
So many.
Francisco Reyes from Spain,
Ah, yes.
also, and
Francisco
Nikki,
is a great resource. Yes,
absolutely,
yes.
and Nikki
Enrique
and Nikki
Rubio.
Enrique, yes, from Hacking
Mhm.
HR, of course. He
Hacking
started a
HR.
whole organization
Oh,
to help.
whole movement. Mhm.
Exactly. And,
Yes.
Nikki from the UK, the CEO of
Mhm.
Hewler,
Nikki Holland, yes.
Nikki Hoyland. So there are a lot of community folks who are willing to help and able to help, and they're happy to
Absolutely.
help actually. So that's a
Yes,
great way to start, kind of increasing and enhancing your knowledge in HR tech. Definitely.
definitely.
Yep. And what do you think we as a profession, as HR, what do you think we can do to prepare our function for an increase in this remote and hybrid work environment? Everyone's working from home practically now, mostly, right?
Yeah.
Unless you are an emergency personnel that you have to go back to the physical workspace. Most of us work from home now. So how do you think
Mhm.
our HR, profession can prepare for this? Because we are still kind of grappling, I
Yes,
think.
yes. I remember having a conversation with Desalin Wood. Um, she is the chief people officer at oh, the company escapes my mind right now, but it'll come back to me. But Desalin, very early in our conversations during COVID, said, this is we're in uncharted waters as an HR profession. We really don't know where we are going. Thought exchange. Imagine that. Yes, Desalin Wood for Thought Exchange in Canada. And she, she was saying, we are in uncharted waters. We really don't know what this is going to bring for us. And as she said that, it really made me think about about 2 years ago, Deloitte, in one of their reports for People Trends, had mentioned the importance of HR becoming more agile. And with becoming more agile means that we have to be more in that innovative and experimental phase as we go through all the things that are happening to us right now as a result of this pandemic. So we need to be more agile as we think about what could possibly happen. It means we need to be more scenario based, and we need to start coming up with those hypotheticals and then working our way through those hypotheticals through user stories. What's the worst thing that could happen? What's the best thing that could happen? And if this was the case, then how would we deal with that? And maybe start experimenting and get in that phase of becoming a scientist, really, in the HR space, being able to experiment, test, and bring things out incrementally, that reduces the risk of us working on big projects all at once, and then scaling them over time, which is how tech companies work anyway, right? And
Absolutely.
so I
Absolutely.
definitely believe that HR needs to become more agile, more experiential, and definitely more scenario based so that we can deal with these things that happen in the future.
Agile is definitely the word of the year for HR. Definitely.
Mhm. For
Well,
sure.
so, we've talked about how HR can be kind of this agile, lean function leading us into the future of work. But do you think the future of work is already here and it should now translate to the now of work?
I definitely believe that the future of work has been here for a while. I would definitely say maybe mid 2019 into right this particular moment, we've been dealing with the future of work. I think COVID-19 just sped it up a bit more. So if you were in strategy phase, mid 2019, you
Mhm.
definitely became more implementing of those strategies at a faster pace because you had to, because of what's happening in the world globally. And I mean, COVID-19 is just one part of it, but when you think of things like Brexit, and you think of Black Lives Matter and the DEI movement, and you think of the Me Too movement, which is still very real and very, very much happening in this moment. HR has had all of these things to adapt to and modify and strategize and create products and services for our people that we work for and that we work with so that we can continue to grow our organizations. And I think now we came out of crisis mode and we're in survival mode, but now we need to shift to thriving. And how do we thrive in this, whatever this hybrid of work is going to be? We now need to start thriving and thinking very much about how we're going to continue to move things forward so that the people we work with and that we work for can continue to be the best that they are and be okay with bringing their human to work.
That is so true. The H in HR, right? And HR Rising is one of the books that I'm trying to finish, written by Steve Brown. And in that, he
Amazing
talks
book.
about, of course, it's so amazing. And he talks about how we need to be the East. And, I
Yes.
have this real visual of bread rising, the East. And I use that, whenever someone asks me what can HR do now, that's the visual that comes to my mind. We need to
Yes.
rise, and we need
Rise.
to be the East in the
Rise.
organization, right? We need to be that. We
Absolutely.
need to be that fermenter. We need to be that fomenter
Yes.
to bring
Yes.
about
Yes.
the
Yes.
change that we've all worked on at a rapid pace this past nine
Hmm.
months. But we need to rise to the
Yes.
occasion, kind of.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly. We need to
great
move it
thoughts.
from
Great thoughts.
insight to action and grow our organizations. Yes.
Absolutely. So
Mhm.
that brings us to the fun part of our interview today. And I'd like
It was
to,
fun all along.
well, this is more fun. So this is our rapid fire round where I ask you a set of questions and you can tell me whatever comes to mind as soon as you hear the question. So here goes.
Okay. Uh-huh.
Who's one person you've gained in your network in the last year that you think more people should know? I will link their account in the show notes, but if you could tell me who that is.
Ooh, Yonica Squires. Um, she is HR Girl 411, and that's literally that. She's in HR. She's female and she's 4'1". That's what it stands for. But
Wow.
she's absolutely amazing. Yonica is out of Florida, based out of Florida, and she is also in that space of supporting organizations and making sure they bring the right tech to their companies.
Mhm.
But she is a firehouse. I love her very much. Yes, Yonica Squires. Everyone should know her.
Absolutely. Um, so what's your favorite HR podcast? I know it's close to your heart,
Oh
podcasting.
my
What's your
goodness. Are
favorite
you trying to
HR
put me on the spot here? Okay, no, my favorite HR podcast. I have several. Are you sure I can only give one?
Oh, well, you can mention everyone. That's fine.
So HR Social Hour for sure.
Mhm.
Um, Impact Makers by Jennifer McClure. I
Uh-huh.
love that. HR Rebooted, which is Tracy Sponenberg's
Uh-huh.
podcast.
Hmm.
Those will be my top three for sure, for sure.
Wonderful. And what's your favorite LinkedIn Learning or e-learning webinar series for HR tech?
Um, my favorite LinkedIn learning would be for HR tech. Hmm, that's a good one. I have to think about that a bit more.
Okay. What about for HR in general?
Oh, for HR in general, I would say anything by Perry Timms. Anything by Perry Timms. Very, very, very good.
Wonderful.
Hmm.
And so, given the upheaval of all things work in 2020, what's one workplace trend that you think is here to stay?
Work from home is here to stay. That is going nowhere. I also think that being more open to having digital nomads in the space. So I think nomad work is going to increase as well, for sure.
Absolutely. The gig
Mhm.
economy, right?
Gig economy, absolutely, yes.
And I know you work in the HR community and you give back. How do you enjoy giving back to the HR community?
So many ways. Moments like this, being able to, spend time on other people's podcasts. I love sharing what I've learned through the content that I put on LinkedIn. And I also love being a part of webinars. So I have a webinar series that I started for 2021,
Mhm.
which is called Unleash the Champion Within. And it's dedicated to HR professionals. Just, we're exhausted, man. And in order for us to be able to continue to do what we do, we have to refill, we have to regroup. And so this podcast series is going to be one every month. The first one is tomorrow, and that is how to reignite your HR mojo because I know you're tired.
And I'm looking
So
forward to that. I really I really need a boost to my HR mojo. And so I'll definitely be joining you tomorrow.
great.
We really can't pour from a empty cup,
Cannot.
right? We cannot. So
Mhm.
I'm so looking forward to your series and I'm excited for you. So
Thank
thank you
you.
so much for being here today, Julie. I've learned a lot from you over our interactions and now through your sharing of your thoughts. And I'm sure
Mhm.
everything you've said today will definitely resonate with our audience throughout the world. So thank you
Oh, thank
for
you.
being here. And if our
Thank you for having
listeners
me.
and if our listeners would like to connect you, what's the best way for them to reach you, Julie, online?
LinkedIn. LinkedIn is the best way to find me, but I'm on every social media platform um, as I am Julie Turney, which is just I am, and then my name, Julie Turney. But LinkedIn is where you find me the most. Yeah.
Perfect. I'll include the link in the show notes. And again, thank you so much. I really, really enjoyed today's talk and chat with you. And I look forward to, interacting more over our virtual metaverse, our HR
Yes.
metaverse. And thank you, everyone, for tuning in. And I look forward to bringing you more global HR tech stories. So stay tuned. Thanks again.